Buenos días, buenas tardes, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome back to the Making Miami podcast. Today's guest was one of the first people to ever come onto this show, a longtime community advocate. Last year when he came on, he was talking about who he was, why he ran for office, and how he was building the District 4 CASSA for residents in the city of Miami. Now he's back, and we're checking in a year later.
Yes.
Thank you for coming to the show, Commissioner.
You got it. Thank you for having me, Josie.
Of course, it's always a pleasure. So, Commissioner, when you came into office, you did something no other commissioner had done before, which is you came in with a framework for how you wanted to develop legislation, your CASSA initiative, which stands for Community, Adaptability, Safety, and Affordability.
Yes.
I think that was a super unique idea that you came in with, and of course it reflects your background as an urban planner. Each piece of legislation you've passed has fallen into one of these four categories. But where did the original idea for CASSA originally come from?
You know, I came in with so many ideas and I said, let me get together with my team and make sure that we have like a structure to everything that we're doing. So it just doesn't feel like a series of random initiatives. And it's all about making sure that District 4 is a place where you want to live and you want to stay for a long time and you want to raise your kids and you'd love to see your grandkids stay there. So everything we work on has to satisfy at least one of the four pillars. And they're all the kinds of things that are focused on quality of life and ensuring that not only do you want to be there, but you can also afford to be there. So this is represents, over 100 pieces, I think, of legislation at this point. And so we're really excited to continue to work for the city. And it has been just a little bit over a year. And I cannot believe that because the time has flown by. We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like fake for me too, because it's been so quick. I mean, it feels surreal that it was a year ago that you were back in this chair. And so, like you mentioned, you've been busy over 100 pieces of legislation, and your first pillar, community, focuses on weaving together the residents of the district and really looking out for your residents. You've done a lot of work with your public parks, free salsa classes, free KGs. I saw you doing the other day. And one of your initiatives has been protecting your senior residents from fraud with the Operation Senior Shield.
Absolutely.
How prevalent is senior fraud in the city of Miami, and how are you guys really protecting people for your first C, community?
So, it is unfortunately way too prevalent. Even my mom, who is now a senior, gets all sorts of text messages and calls and always checks in with me. Are they calls I should return? Should I respond to this? And candidly, the answer is almost always no, because what they're trying to do is get information from you. And so we've done a series of seminars for our seniors in support of, or rather supported by Legal Services of Greater Miami, which puts on a really great training. And we did one just a couple of days ago, in fact. And it helps them to identify the signs of fraud, which is much too prevalent in the entire city of Miami and really across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was working over at the county, we had a lady that was a victim of of a fraud that had to do with a roofing program that the county was hosting. And so she had lost so much money and she came out of it with a damaged roof. And even with my own grandmother, I see it all the time. People call and they say, oh, I'm calling from Truist. And it's not from Truist. It's a scammer trying to get her information. So I think those seminars are really essential. And I love that you've undertaken this initiative because District 4 has a really high concentration of seniors.
We really do. So what we tell folks is if you're ever unsure, just give us a call and we will help you do the research to see if the person that's calling you is legitimate or not. There are, in fact, programs to renovate your home and put in a new roof. And so there are legit programs, but there are also folks pretending that they've got such programs. And so if they give us a call in my office, we can help them to sort that out. My number is 305-250-5420. And so if you know of a senior or you yourself are a senior and you're unsure if the call or the text you're receiving or email you're receiving is legitimate or not, please give us a call and we'll help you sort that out.
Yeah, that's fantastic that you guys are going out of your way to do that. And so building on that community connection that you're creating, you not too long ago also received approval for an initiative that would open up schools in the evenings to use for recreation centers, your SHARE program.
Yes.
So how did SHARE come about, and what areas can we see soon opening up to the public?
So, I was previously a city manager and I helped to negotiate what they call a joint use agreement, which is an agreement between a local government and Miami-Dade County Public Schools to have access to school fields in the evenings on weekdays and also throughout the weekend. And so I know that as part of the negotiating that agreement, I learned that a lot of cities in Miami-Dade have an agreement like this for like one school within each of the cities. And so when I was elected last year, I asked if the city of Miami had any of these agreements in place, and it turns out we didn't. And so what we've done is negotiate a master agreement for all 50 plus schools in the city of Miami. It's been approved by the city commission unanimously. It's been approved by the school board unanimously. And now we're ironing out those final details so that we can go ahead and open up some of the schools. We will be opening up the District 4 schools first, and that'll be done within the next few months. So
That's amazing.
we have 8 schools in District 4, and we cannot wait to go ahead and be able to play soccer and basketball and a variety of things there. We're really excited.
Yeah, and I mean, these areas functionally are kind of these pseudo parks, right? Especially for residents that might not have a park next to them,
Right.
or that might live next to an area like 8th Street, right?
Yes.
Which runs through your district.
Yeah.
This helps supplant that and bring recreation to the residents.
Absolutely.
And a project that I really appreciate and that I have to commend you for, Commissioner, is Superhero Park, which is District 4 and the City of Miami's first 100% disability accessible park. And there's a beautiful story behind that for you and what that park meant to you. I would love if you could share that with us.
So my wife and I had a niece who was disabled, and she lived her whole life in a wheelchair. And so if you have someone like that in your family, you see the limitations that they face being able to just get around town, trying to do basic things. And so even going to the park was something complicated because most parks don't have ADA accessible equipment. In some cases, they might have one piece of equipment, but that's it. And so she passed away some years ago. And so in her honor, this is going to be the districts, the cities, and even the county's fully ADA accessible park. And it is located near Miami High, and it's located walking distance to the school where I went to elementary school. It's a school called Kensington Park Elementary. And that is now one of the largest autism-serving schools anywhere in Miami-Dade County. They help teach about 310 autistic kids every single day. And so what we've done is the park is not only fully ADA accessible, but it will appeal to kids on the autism spectrum with regards to the colors of the playground equipment, the sounds, the textures of everything, the placement so that the equipment's not too close to each other, so it's not too overwhelming. There'll be a quiet zone, all those kinds of things. So we're really excited about this. We are wrapping up the design and heading into permitting, and we should start construction before the end of the year.
That's absolutely wonderful. And, I really have to give it to you because, as I've shared on the show before, and I don't recall if I shared it with you directly, Commissioner, but my brother is disabled and he has a condition called MECP2 duplication syndrome. It's quite rare and it's different from autism, but nevertheless, it's a disability. And my brother, just like any other child, wants to play, wants to live, wants to run, wants to have experiences. And you really don't understand how unprepared our world is for disabled people and for disabled children until you go through that experience yourself, until you've had to personally carry a child onto a playground set because you want him to feel included and to have that experience, but there's really not a way for them to participate by themselves, until you've had to look for alternative ways for them to really experience the same thing that families that might have children that don't have special needs or just simply that other children get to experience life. And so accommodating to that not just is a nice thing for them, but it's inclusion for our society. And I always have the impression that people that grow up around disabled individuals, disabled children, or that even get to just experience them become better human beings. And it's a sign of actual inclusion because many times in classrooms and in other places, they'll put the disabled kids in a corner or in a completely different classroom, and then those other students don't get the benefit of becoming more educated, more empathetic, and more reasonable human beings by way of that exposure. And so by providing this park, I mean, really anybody can go to a park.
That's right.
So any family could come into Superhero Park and get that exposure and really see the other side of how things are for different groups of people and become better human beings. So this is not just a park for disabled people, but it's a park for bettering our community. Yeah. And so I really I have to give my credit, my kudos, my hats off to you, sir. And so, moving beyond that, obviously the city provides us with many practical services, and you as legislators are tasked with continually supporting those types of things. And you also provide tons of cultural programs programming. And for the first time ever this year, for the Reyes Mago Parade, there was a concert, which you led that initiative. You brought Camila Cabello. How did you guys manage to bring Camila Cabello and really rejuvenate this long-honored tradition?
We pulled every string we could possibly pull together to come down, but it was the first time that the Three Kings Parade had a concert, and it was a huge success. Folks were really happy. We had a number of acts there, and so we're going to keep the tradition going, and you can see us, seeing us organizing the parade already for next year, for January.
Yeah, and we're already looking forward to it. And you also have Arte D4 going on, and I saw that you guys were also looking for someone to do the Celia Cruz painting.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. I know there's several public artworks that are going to be soon unveiled to the public.
That's exactly right. So Arte D4 is a public art idea contest that we ran at the beginning of the year. And so for about a month or so, we asked folks to submit ideas for types of artworks, locations where they'd like to see something, if they have favorite artists or favorite themes. And the public really responded incredibly well with a ton of energy. And so we got lots and lots of ideas. We've already unveiled the first 2 murals in the last couple of weeks. One at a senior center close to the Palmetto, and another one at Douglas Park. And that one is called You Belong Here, which is a beautiful message. We did the mural in partnership with Miami Kids Magazine in celebration of their 10th anniversary. And so we partnered together to do that. And it's a message of inclusion. There were different kids featured of different abilities. And so it's been just a resounding success. And we are working right now on our third public art project, which is in the Citrus Grove neighborhood. And there we're having some benches painted and the concrete slabs under the benches. And it's going to be like tropical themed. And so should be cutting the ribbon in the next few weeks. And we've partnered with the Underline to do another artwork. And we have, I think, in total almost 10 that we're going to be doing before the end of the year. So really excited.
That's great. And, it's not just like beautifying our community or having these artworks, right? Because somebody might say, well, why do we need all of these things? But these are the things that make our community stand out, more beautiful, more lively. And in a way, you also get to promote local artists and local industries through that.
Absolutely.
And it's balanced governance, right? Because I've just highlighted all of these practical initiatives and all these different things that you've been doing. But then also, like I mentioned, you have cultural programming. And those are the things that really build and bring that first C community together. And so, moving into your other pillar, adaptability, one of your big initiatives that we talked about last time you were here was the 235-mile trail connecting Miami, the Miami Loop.
Yes.
How has that progressed over the last year? I know we're going to be seeing a lot of things between 2026 to 2029.
Absolutely. And so the idea is that there's a number of trails that either already exist in the city of Miami or are in some phase of design or permitting or construction. And you can actually, if you take a little extra step, you can actually connect them all. And then you end up with a trail network that goes throughout Miami-Dade County from the northern portions to the southern portions, well over 200 miles of trail. And it includes things like the Bay Walk downtown, the River Walk along the Miami River, the Ludlam Trail, which runs through my district and just east of the Palmetto. You've got the Underline that runs along US 1 from downtown all the way up to Dayland Mall, and a series of other trails, the Commodore Trail in Coconut Grove. And so we just need to take that extra step to, first of all, support each other, right? Because each of these trails projects is being led by a different individual or a different group. And so what we do is we meet every other month. In fact, the meeting for this is later today. And we have the leaders of each of those segments there, and we figure out how we can support each other. One of the things that we did recently, and it passed on first reading unanimously, and now it's coming up for second reading in a couple weeks, is actually legislation within the city of Miami, where if you're a developer building near one of the trails, you can actually contribute money to get additional square footage for your project. Not additional density, but additional square footage. And the money that you would contribute to this fund goes to the trail nearest you. So one of the issues with getting any of the trails built, as you can imagine, is the cost of getting it built. It can be very expensive per linear mile. And so this is an additional funding source to move these things forward and get them done. Some of these projects have been on the drawing board for decades. I'm committed to pushing forth so we have that network within the next couple years.
Yeah, and I think the way that you guys are incentivizing it is both creative and responsible, because as you said, it's additional square footage, not additional density.
Right.
So it's not that these things are getting taller, bigger, or more like a skyscraper, but rather that you're giving them more area to cover.
That's right.
And so you're preventing a degree of overdevelopment in doing that.
Exactly.
So you're connecting Miami in a really responsible way through this mass project.
Yep.
And really making it accessible, because one of our biggest problems is the ability to have public transit and our walkability and things like that.
Right.
And so, tying in both with this theme of adaptability in our community, being able to fluctuate between your car or walking or biking or public transport, and also affordability, you have your SAVE program, which for all of 2026, people were able to get half off their permits for storm-proofing their homes and
Yes.
certain renovations.
It's been a big success. It's underway right now. And so if you are a homeowner in the city of Miami and you're looking to renovate your home to make it more energy efficient and more hurricane proof, you get half off on your permits this year all the way through the end of the year. So that means if you're replacing your roof or you're putting in impact windows or a generator or anything that makes your home more energy efficient, new equipment, new appliances and things like that, you get half off on your permit fees. We're excited. People have resoundingly supported this, and who knows, we may continue it past this year. But definitely, if you're a Miami homeowner looking to renovate, this is the year to do it. Come on in before December 31st.
Absolutely. And I think that this is a great opportunity, not just because of the cost reduction, because although that is one of the barriers to permitting, you guys are also doing the permitting assistance at parks.
We are.
You have the permit concierge, as we talked about last time. And so you guys have really made this so accessible. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why my prior boss, Kevin Cabrera, ran for office, because he had such difficulty with the permitting process at the county. And so this is really a genuine obstacle for so many people. Another one of your focuses has also been affordable housing. I've seen the development by Henry Flagler Elementary.
Yes.
And you've actually launched a really cool teacher-focused affordable housing initiative with the school board that you're working on. So talk to us a little bit about that. How can teachers be informed about this or take advantage? And where did this all come from?
So there's a couple of properties in the district that are large properties owned by Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and they're not schools per se. They're actually just administrative sites that are largely vacant. And so there's a 12-acre site off of 70th Avenue between Flagler and Southwest 4th Street. And so I met with the school board vice chair, Monica Colucci. She represents that area. And we have there the opportunity to do a P4. Right. So folks talk about P3s, which are public-private partnerships. This is actually a P4 because it's a public-private partnership. The idea is it's the city partnering with the school board, partnering with the county commissioner in that area, Natalie Milian Orbis. And I'm thrilled that she was just reelected. And so she comes into play because the site is immediately adjacent to the Ludlam Trail, or what should be the Ludlam Trail. And so we have the opportunity to build over 400 housing units where teachers would get right of first refusal to be able to rent them. We would be able to build out adjacent to it the Ludlam Trail. We'd be able to build out an early learning center, which I know is a priority for Vice Chair Colucci. We would do a dog park, and we would do a tot lot there. And so it's a community center. And so it's a project that really serves so many purposes. It's land that right now has warehouses, where most of the warehouses, they're all owned by the school board, but most of them are actually vacant, and they don't look so great. And this would give us an opportunity to help a lot of teachers in the community. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah, and making a lot of these developments, right, in conjunction with the school board and taking advantage of these plots of land, you also give these teachers a greater quality of life, not just because of all the amazing amenities you're providing, but because they'll be closer to their own jobs. Teachers are often one of those groups that people highlight that are struggling with the affordability crisis right now. And I think that's something that you understand because your wife works in education.
Yes.
And so you really understand what's going on in terms of what educators are facing nowadays.
And teacher salaries haven't gone up in forever. So that is a tough field to be in. It's a very rewarding field personally, but financially, not so much. And so anything we can do to support our teachers, I think, is an important step. Absolutely.
That's a barrier to entry that reasonably keeps good people out of a great profession. But from a practical standpoint, it's understandable why it's necessary to undertake these initiatives and really make life more comfortable for our educators. In the past, you've said anything we can do to make government more efficient should make people's lives naturally more affordable.
Yes.
What is that philosophy really about, and how are you planning to continue implementing that in your work as commissioner?
Well, so one of the things that definitely drives up the cost of housing is the permitting process. So we've taken a series of steps working with the mayor and the city manager, my colleagues, and the city staff to make permitting easier. So there is now a permit concierge. Essentially, they're on the first floor of the administrative building that the city has on the Miami River. And so as soon as you come in, there's somebody there that greets you if you're pulling a permit, and they become your single point of contact throughout the entire permitting process. That is a huge thing, because permitting is confusing, and ultimately you have to deal with many departments. But having one person that kind of holds your hand through the process is critical. We've also looked at like individual processes that are kind of redundant or way too expensive, and both we and others on the commission have put forth legislation to make those components of permitting faster, more affordable, and so folks can get to the renovation or the construction process that much faster. And we're going to be holding, it's actually, we're doing it tomorrow for the first time. We're going to be doing a virtual town hall with the city manager and with key building department staff, so that they can hear from folks that are going through the permitting process about what things can be improved. We're looking at doing this quarterly, and because it's set up via Teams or via Zoom, it is something where anyone can join in. If they are, at home or at their office, they can, hear about the kinds of things that the city is doing to improve the process, but they can also say, hey, what doesn't work so well is this other thing. And then that gives us something, to kind of like focus our efforts on and try to improve.
Yeah, of course. There's no better way to understand the deficiencies or the possible improvements of a system than going through it personally. And so it's great that you guys are hosting this town hall. And I can see the natural flow of what your quote said, right? Going to making things more efficient, but also then reducing cost.
Yes.
Because when you eliminate these clunks in the system, your internal costs as a city also get reduced, which means that you can bring those fees a lot more down.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And so, safety, which is another one of your pillars. Last time we were here, we spoke a lot about increased police officers, the drone, and other strategies to improve public safety. But you've combined the homelessness issue with safety in your district with your new HUGS program. What can you tell us about this partnership and how it'll improve homelessness and safety for residents in Miami?
So HUGS is an acronym. We love our acronyms here in District 4. And so HUGS is Housing Underserved Groups Safely. And the idea is that District 4 is a safe district, but it's got a few places that maybe are a little more challenging than others. And some of those are motels in the district. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to get, with the support of my colleagues on the commission, we're able to allocate some dollars to purchase some motels and convert them into longer term housing for folks. And so we are in the process of supporting the first such purchase, and hopefully there'll be a few more to come. We're particularly targeting, I would say, the most dangerous motels in the district, to get them offline and get them, helping folks that need affordably priced housing.
Yeah, and I think this is a great repurpose, because ultimately these businesses are there, and so they're part of the community and you need to work with them. But acknowledging the fact that a motel is often a human trafficking site, it's a site for homelessness and for so many other things. And unfortunately, it's just being used that way by ne'er-do-wells. And so, to the credit of the city and to yourself, right, you've supported initiatives. I remember Mayor Vince Lago from Coral Gables supported banning the hourly rates at these motels.
That's right.
And so that's a move that the city took positively, and yet this is another building on of it and taking advantage of what's a space, right? Ultimately, a motel is a room with a bathroom and can function as housing for these individuals.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really creative solution on your part.
And I want to thank Mayor Vince Lago, because he actually came out to speak in support of my initiative on this.
Yeah. And I love to see it, right? Because it's elected officials doing what they were elected to do. Yeah. You guys are not in competition of who's better or who's flashier or this is my initiative, you did this thing, but I want to do it better. You're collaborating, right? Coral Gables is a neighboring municipality. Those things kind of bleed over into both areas. And so you are assisting each other in the creation of a better Miami-Dade County and a better District 4. Commissioner, you've done so much in this past year alone, but as our nation celebrates its 250th birthday coming up, as the son of Cuban exiles, someone who really just has a lifetime of experience working in the public sector, what has it felt like for you, not just to be able to be an elected official and serve your nation in that capacity, but to be able to have such a tangible effect on your community?
This is such an honor and a privilege to be in this role and to be able to help so many people, not only in the district, but across the city. It is an absolute blessing. I am grateful every single day for the opportunity to serve. So you hit it right on the head.
Yeah. And so, again, like as we approach this historic milestone, right, and we celebrate our long-standing history as we approach the 4th of July, what do you want your district and the city of Miami's legacy to look like going into the future? I remember in our last episode together, you talked about the District 4 CASSA and how you wanted the District 4 CASSA to look like when it was all said and done. You wanted to make people feel more connected, safer, and for life to be more affordable for them. You know, how do you see yourself going into the future and continuing to showing up for residents to build the District 4 CASA?
You know, we are always open to new ideas. And so we've actually been, canvassing a couple of days a week. I want to hear from residents. We were out there knocking on doors yesterday, in fact, and you get some of the best recommendations come from people that have lived in the neighborhood for a long time and are either happy with the changes they're seeing or maybe not so happy at sometimes. And so we would love to get input from each of our residents. How can we help you to want to stay in District 4 forever? So, getting that public input really matters to us.
Yeah, I recall seeing your Ralph Reaches Out initiative, which is that canvassing campaign. What are some ways that people can know when you're going to be out there or connect with you?
So sometimes we're able to announce it in advance. Certainly, we have at least one big public event per week, whether it's a groundbreaking, a ribbon cutting, a town hall, something. And we announce all of that in advance, via our social media and via email. But we tell folks, just reach out whenever you'd like. So I'm going to give you my phone numbers again. The office line is 305-250-5420. My cell phone is 305-588-4364. And we ask folks, whenever possible, email us. And we've set up sort of an all-purpose email address, which is d4@miami.gov, d4@miami.gov. And the emails that are sent there come to me, but they come to several key staff members. And so whatever your concern is, we try to address it like as immediately as possible.
That's amazing. And I thank you for providing those resources and even your own personal phone number, because really a lot of times residents get frustrated with the accessibility of government and being able to vent themselves. And so I think, this is part of public service, letting the public reach you and express their concerns and their needs. And so, as you look back and you reflect on this year, what has been your biggest takeaway and how are you going to apply that going forward?
I think there's a lot more work to be done. So it was really a wonderful time to be elected last summer. And, like I mentioned, we come in with tons and tons of ideas. The city's in a good position where we've got resources that we can devote to different projects. And I see a lot of opportunities to make the district and the city better. So I'm excited to serve, as I mentioned, and there's still a lot of good stuff to be done. We're just getting started.
Yeah, that's great. This is the time to strike. We've got to take advantage. And I see you ready, willing, and able. Yeah. And so I thank you for your public service commissioner and for coming on this podcast to recap this last year and celebrate America 250 on the podcast together.
Go America.
Yeah. So thank you, Commissioner, and thank all of you, of course, for watching.
Thank you.